We are entering into a showdown between what is the truth and what is false. It is not the final showdown, because there will be a short season when Satan and his crew will be let loose after the 1,000-year reign of Yeshua in the temple of Elohim. Yet it is a final showdown of sorts for man's time of self-rule. In a poker game, when a player moves all of his chips to wager them on his or her hand, this is referred to as being all in. We have reached a time where each of you is going to have to either be all in for the truth or perish. So knowing what the truth is of the utmost importance. Life and death have always been about siding with the truth and standing with it, but the consequences of being wrong have not been imminent like they are now. In the past, judgment has been deferred to the great white throne of judgment that will happen in a future time. Now the time of man's rule and Satan's influence over them is climaxing to a point where the outcome of choosing to side with anything that is not true is imminent. The time is just about at hand when all that opposes the truth will be purged out from the earth to prepare this earth and its inhabitants that will be delivered into this time for the millennium rule with Elohim's temple. Is what you believe true, or do you believe in lies? Are you willing to gamble your life on your beliefs? You might want to research where they came from with the stakes being so high. Do you want to side with Saul of Tarsus instead of siding with your Messiah and his father and his prophets? Do you want to side with the traditions that came out of Judaism instead of siding with the writings of the prophets and the teachings of Yeshua? Knowing what is true boils down to proving our Creator's word and then believing it. In order to prove his word, you have to acknowledge why he created us. He did not put us here without a purpose and without an instruction manual. The proof of his instructions is all around us. The fact that he created everything testifies that he is all-knowing, and this testifies that he knows better than we do. And the fact that he knows better than we do testifies that deciding right from wrong for ourselves is futile. He told us in Isaiah 55, starting verse 8, "Because my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are my ways your ways, says Yahweh. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts." He did not create it. He did not create us and then leave us here without instructions to teach us his ways and his thoughts. He created us with free will so that we could go our own way if we chose to, but he wanted us to seek after his thoughts so that we could learn to be in agreement with him, so that we could walk with him forever. He told Israel that if they did not purge out the deities of the nations that he sent them to conquer, that he would not be with them. He told them that he would make them captives to their deities and scatter them if they did not hearken to his instructions. But he also told them that he would not remove his word from them so that they could return to him if they chose to. And even though he scattered them, some have returned to him by coming to his call to return to his instructions. And he's built his family, his temple from these. He delivered them from out of the bondage of the false versions of him, and they are about ready to be resurrected into eternal beings in his family because they returned to him. Israel was supposed to take his instructions to the nations that he sent them into, and they were commanded to purge out everything and everyone that did not want to turn to his instructions. Why is this hard to believe? If they had hearkened, then he would have kept expanding their territory until they eventually would have brought his truth to the whole world. His truth is his path to his righteousness. His instructions teach us to be one big family, and they teach us to care for one another and to love one another. They teach us to live a life separated to him to become as he is. They teach us to not decide right from wrong for ourselves, and they teach us that if we do, then we have the death penalty. They also teach us to depend on him for our existence. Where's the downside to this? Do you think that it is better that man should be able to thumb their nose at their Creator and do what they want to do? Is this your righteous judgment? Just look at all of the hurt and the suffering that man's righteousness leads to and has led to. Most people have a problem with his instructions to purge out that which opposes his instructions. Is there a downside to purging out that which leads to eternal death? Anything that opposes his instructions is evil, because his instructions lead to eternal life. Anything that opposes his instructions is the same thing as murder in slow motion. His instructions teach us his righteousness, and the end product is we learn to love as he loves when we are in agreement with his righteousness. He goes on in Isaiah 55 to explain how we are to learn his thoughts and his ways in the following verses. In verse 10 he says, "Just as the rain and the snow fall from heaven and water the earth before they return, and cause it to bring forth and bud, that they may give seed to the sower and bread to the eater, so shall my word be that proceeds forth out of my mouth. It will not return to me void. It will accomplish that which I purpose, and it will prosper in what I sent it to do." It really is as simple as believing that he created us to be made in his image. If you believe this, then from there it is simple to understand that our life here in the flesh is supposed to be a classroom. If we show up for class, then we can learn to graduate from the class and out of this flesh and into his family. His instructions are perfect at transforming our thoughts to become the same as his thoughts. The showdown of truth versus lies is in place. Satan has had 6,000 years to derail man if they were given over to him to sift. And he has used this time to set up his counterfeits to the truth. Yesterday I spoke about a couple of many of his servants that will soon rise up in international prominence when the calamity intensifies. I look at the careful detail that Satan has put forth in these two men and in other people's lives as well in order to set up their counterfeits to the truth. He has been hard at work. With Ron Wineland, Satan had to start preparing for this showdown by raising up Ron's predecessor, Herbert W. Armstrong, and his organization, the Radio Church of God, that later became known as the Worldwide Church of God. He had to stage an apostasy that aligned itself with Saul's teachings and aligned itself with other things like the Saturday, Sunday, Sabbath controversy, both of which are his smokescreens anyway. If a person measures Ron's claims of this apostasy in lieu of Saul's teachings being accurate and other false doctrines such as the Saturday Sabbath being true, then they can become convinced that he is the real deal. The problem for Ron is Saul was also Satan's boy, and the Saturday Sabbath is also one of Satan's schemes. The word that our Elohim gave us to measure all things with proves that Saul was deceived and that he was a deceiver. The word of Elohim also proves that both the fixed days of the Saturday Sabbath and the Sunday Sabbath are also false. So the word of Elohim debunks Wineland's apostasy theory. Many of you might wonder why I'm speaking about Ron Wineland or this false messiah Raymond Elwood again, especially if you've never heard of them. Well, most everyone in the world have never heard of me either yet. But when things come unglued, all of us will emerge on the world scene. I am posting these videos so that they are exposed, so that others will not fall prey to them and to others like them. I am explaining how they can tell who is of the truth and who is not. And just using these two as examples because they certainly are poised by their father Satan to emerge as things intensify. Knowing what is truth is paramount because the truth is the pass that all will need to possess in order to be delivered. There are many others that will continue blabbing their blasphemies to the truth, calling their beliefs the truth as we move forward. And their voices will be magnified by the coming time of Jacob's trouble as well. The same measuring rod applies to all of them, just as it applies to me. It is easy to prove who is false and who is true if you have a measuring rod to measure them with. You cannot measure them against your own human logic. It does not work this way. You're not more clever than Satan. If you have to believe the one who created us. You'd have to believe that he would certainly give us something to measure all things with. Our eternity is at stake. And he did. He gave us his measuring rod. Today I'm just mentioning these two again as examples in order to show the careful detail that Satan put forth in building their counterfeits to the truth. He coordinated many events to set these two counterfeits up, just as he has been setting up his other counterfeits. With Raymond, I read over his proofs that he has offered to the public, that he says prove that he is the real deal. They show years of planning on Satan's part to one day set him up, just as is the case with the events that led to Weinland coming to his understanding of what he believes is the true church. His schemes have been carefully orchestrated and carefully planned for years. The true church is not of the government of men. The word church is translated as such from the Greek word ecclesia, which simply means called out from. The true church is those whom our Elohim has called out from the world, that have become set apart to him. You cannot be both set apart to him and still living in the lies. Our Creator does not abide in lies. No lie is of the truth. He is truth. He is the only self-existing one, and he defines truth. He defines what it is. He created all things, and he sustains all things. So to prove whether what I speak or what anyone else speaks is true, you have to measure it against his word. The real Messiah said that his word is truth. And in order to be found in his favor, you need to walk with him and his Son in truth. He told us what is required of us in Micah 6, verses 8 and 9, or actually just verse 8 today. He says, he has showed you, O man, what is good. What does Yahweh require from us? Whether you will do justice or do judgment and love doing what is right, and King James translate that as mercy, and walk humbly or walk lowly with Elohim. There is much said in these three requirements that we must live by in order to be found in his favor. The Hebrew word for justice or for judgment is mishpat. It is his judgments that we must all do and live by if we're to be found in his favor. He tells us that doing his judgments is required of us. One of his judgments is that we purge out that which leads to a different version of him from our midst. He gave us this judgment because he knows that all other versions of him are lies, and they lead to be destroyed forever. Purging out evil includes that we must teach our children to walk in his judgments and teach them to teach their children to do the same, so that his judgments continue and they flourish. And they don't depart from us. Doing so is helping him build his eternal family. Not doing so yields him producing more chaff for the lake of fire to burn with. The next thing that is listed that we must do is we must love doing what is right. Like I said, the King James translated this word as mercy. This is the Hebrew word chiked. I guess maybe is how it's pronounced. The Strong's Concordance says that it means piety or kindness by implication towards Elohim, or even rarely reproof. I won't make it simple. In this verse it means to love, to manifest that which is right before his eyes. It is doing the right thing before him and to one another before his face. We are required to love doing that which is right before his eyes. This does not mean to blindly show everyone loving kindness. Yeshua did not show the scribes and Pharisees loving kindness when he was flipping over their tables and driving them out of the temple that day. But he certainly was doing that which is right before his Father's eyes when he did so. We must look for every opportunity to extend loving kindness to all who are doing that which is right before his eyes. But this does not mean that we give favor to evil either. He is our Creator, he is the Master Potter, and he tells us what is right and what is wrong. When we are doing that which is right before his eyes, we are found in his favor. The third thing that he says here that is required from us is that we walk lowly with him. Is ignoring him or telling him how it is, walking with him in humility? Is disobeying him, even walking with him in the first place? Is telling him what is true and what is not true, walking with him? No, it is not. He wants us walking wholly with him, completely with him. His path is designed to keep our attention on his righteousness all of the time, from the time that we wake up in the morning until we go to sleep. And when we do so, he is even our focus in the night watches, and his angels encamp around us. He wants us all in walking with him. His Torah bears witness to this, and this bears witness to his Torah. Being all in means not only obeying his lead, but also trusting him. Two cannot walk together in harmony unless they are in agreement with one another. We have to be in agreement with him if we're going to walk with him in humility. I said that yesterday that I received a post from Raymond Elwood, or from someone in his camp, that told me to consider that maybe it is me that is leading others away from salvation. They asked me to consider the proofs that they speak of, that they say prove that Raymond is the reincarnate Messiah. I don't need to consider any of these proofs that were orchestrated by his father, the devil. All I need to do is measure his belief against my father's word. A brief overview of Raymond's truth shows that his righteousness is way off the mark from my father's righteousness. I believe my father's words that says that he hates the obvious abominations like homosexuality. Raymond condemns people for saying that Elohim hates homosexuality. Who is right, Raymond? Or is our Creator's word that the real Messiah testified to right? I believe his word when it says that he put the luminaries here for us to use to determine when his appointed times are. Nature testifies to it, just like nature testifies that homosexuality is wrong. This is not that complicated. And I believe his word when it tells me that his weekly Sabbaths are included in his appointed times. There is a problem for any of you who are following Wineland or Elwood or any other of the thousands of false shepherds and deceivers that are in the world that Satan has set up. The problem for you is you cannot follow our Creator's word that he said would always be, and that would always be available to us, and also follow these deceivers. They contradict each other over and over again, meaning his word and their false beliefs contradict each other. Yet both Wineland and Elwood use his word to claim that they are who they say that they are. This is hypocrisy. And so does the third of the world that is called Christianity. Wineland and many others say that you have to obey Elohim, but then they pick and choose what we are to obey. Elwood does the same thing. He picks and chooses or cherry picks which scriptures are true to support his claims as to what truth is, or to try to prove that he is the reincarnated Messiah. They all do this to serve their twist. Right down the line, all the way from the Billy Graham Crusades to the blasphemies of Joel Osteen. They are all full of hypocrisy and lies. How can any of you say that you walk lowly before your Elohim if you cherry pick from his word that what you will believe or what you will obey or what you won't obey? He said that his word endures forever. It certainly is not cherry picking to get rid of the writings of Saul and his followers, Luke and Mark. Get rid of all of them. His word that endures forever proves that these writings are false. He said that he does not change. He said that his word was given for a purpose, and he told us what the purpose is. He said that he sent it to us because our thoughts are not his thoughts and our ways are not his ways. He said just as the rain ascends back up to the heavens after it has watered the plants so that they grow and produce fruit, so his words return to him. They return to him by growing us up in his image to produce his family. We are the produce. I'm telling all of you out there that Satan has some very cleverly designed counterfeits to the truth that he has spent hundreds or even thousands of years setting up for this showdown. He even has schemes set up to disprove the word of Elohim altogether. I am also telling you that there is only one way that you will receive our Creator's protection from Satan sifting you with these counterfeits, and that is if you will return to his truth and walk lowly with him on his path. Your eyes must be single on him and on his righteousness and on his kingdom. These men say to follow them. Saul of Tarsus led billions astray by saying to follow him as he followed the Messiah. But there is a problem. He did not follow Yeshua. Yeshua was his Father's word in the flesh. Saul did not follow his word in the flesh. He made up a more excellent way by mixing in lies with the truth. Wineland and Elwood and the countless other deceivers out there are telling people to follow them as well, but they do the same thing as Saul did. They mix in their lies with the truth. I am not telling you to follow me. I'm telling you to follow the word of Elohim, the same word that his son became in the flesh and told you to follow. Most know the writings of the Old Testament testify that Yeshua is the Messiah. These same writings testify in like manner that his Father has raised me up out of the captivity and sent me to you as his witness. These same writings testify that Saul of Tarsus and his followers like Wineland and the many others who follow him are false. These writings testify that Raymond Elwood is as far off of the mark of our Creator's righteousness as the east is from the west. And these writings, along with the writings of the eyewitnesses, our measuring rod that we are to measure all things with. Are you all in with the measuring rod? Do you even care what it says? Or are you sitting on the fence? Or maybe you're in bed with one of the enemy camps. If you are not all in with the truth that will set you free, you are committing adultery with your Creator. Yeshua prophesied of the problems that those whom his Father was calling out of the world would face. He used characteristics of the called out ones from the regions of the Asia Minor for his prophecy. He spoke of what they were doing right and what they were doing wrong. His admonitions of the called out ones of Laodicea, he said in Revelation 3, he says, I know because of your works that you are neither cold nor hot. Oh, that you were either cold or hot. He is saying that he wished that they were either one or the other. If they were cold, he could just deal with them accordingly and speedily. It's a speedy punishment, speedy judgment. But because they are not all in, or they are lukewarm, they will have to go through a time of rebuke and chastening in order to try to humble them. This period of time will not be fun, and it is about here. Next verse he says, so because you are lukewarm and you are neither cold nor hot, you will be vomited out of my mouth. It does not sound like not being all in is going to be a good place to be. I keep speaking that this showdown is boiling down to standing with the truth that will deliver you through the coming time of affliction. The truth is the same truth that Yeshua bore witness to when he came. It is the same truth that Yeshua said has been ever since his Father began to build his family. He told us what it is. It is his Father's word. Will you be found standing with it? Or who will you be found standing with? Whose truth are you standing with today? Is it what you think or what you believe is true? Is that what you're standing with? Or is it the same truth that his two witnesses are bearing witness to? He said that his two witnesses are standing before him and that his 7 spirits are flowing out from them to the whole world. Wineland says that he and his wife are these 2 witnesses, yet to my knowledge he has not ever even spoken about our Creator's 7 spirits. Elwood says that these 2 witnesses were Harold Camping and another man that followed Harold's teachings, whose name was Robert Fitzpatrick. These 2 men do not even meet the description of the 2 olive trees who are the 2 witnesses in any way whatsoever. Scripture testifies to who the 7 spirits would go out through. His word announces them both by name so that there would be no confusion when it was his time to reveal them. One of them is his son, and the other is the last stone of the temple that he would pluck out of the fire and his son would enter into. He said that he would give this man a change of clothing and give him a new name, and this name would be Zerubbabel. Zerubbabel means one that has flowed out from the captivity, the brand that was plucked out of the fire. He raised me up to be this man. I am bearing witness to his truth with his son. It is the truth that he sent to us with the purpose to build his family. It is the same truth that he promised would not depart from being available to the scattered nations of Israel, even though they would depart from it and be scattered. What other word that Yeshua said was the truth matches this description? There is none. I am not telling you to follow me. I am telling you to follow the word of Elohim that was given to us to raise us up to be his children. It is the unleavened bread that was rained down from heaven. It waters our roots so that we become trees of righteousness. It is Yeshua's flesh that we must eat and his blood that we must drink, since he was made to be his Father's word in the flesh. It is the path that delivers us out of this flesh into eternal life, into our Creator's family. If you want to continue to eat of the leavened filth of this world instead, this is your choice. Your party will soon come to an end if you do. The stage has been set and the showdown of truth versus lie is in place. One thing is for certain, the outcome is certain. Truth will prevail and all lies will be purged out. Another thing that is for sure, our Creator is not looking for quantity in his family. He is looking for those few who will have pure hearts toward him. He is looking for those who will be all in for his desire to become their desire and for his righteousness to become their righteousness. The Raymonds and the Ronalds of the world will soon be dealt with, but they have been allowed to come with their counterfeits of the truth in order to test you and to prove you whether you will love Yahweh Elohim with all of your heart and with your entire life or not. He is suggesting that you enroll in his class and choose life. This is the final hand in man's 6,000 years of self-rule. Where will you put your chips? There is only one winning hand, so I suggest that you don't spread them around onto different hands. He is not looking for the lukewarm to be in his family. This is clear.